All right, let's dive right in. Welcome, everyone, to today's Laboratory Practical Explainer. I'm your instructor, and today we're stepping right into the highly controlled environment of our psychology lab to examine the invisible mechanics of human cognition. Specifically, we're going to look at Experiment 3 from our curriculum, the effect of priming in cognitive processes. We've got our standard experimental setup all ready to go, and our volunteer participant is seated right there, ready to begin. We're going to walk through the exact, rigorous methodology required to measure how exposure to one stimulus might just subconsciously hijack your brain's memory of another.
So think about the question we're posing right now. Does seeing one word actually change how you remember another? Like, if I show you the word hat, are you suddenly way more likely to remember the word cap? This isn't magic, guys. It's a completely measurable psychological phenomenon. Right now, our volunteer is getting comfortable at the lab desk. She's been given the basic instructions, but she is completely in the dark about the specific purpose of today's test. She has no idea that we're trying to see if an initial, super brief stimulus can subconsciously influence her cognitive responses later on.
Now, to run a proper scientific experiment, we've got to have a formal objective. Our official aim for today's practical is precisely this: to study the effect of priming on recall. This is our North Star for today's session. We are formulating an alternate hypothesis that states there absolutely is an effect of priming on recall. Everything we do today, from the stopwatch in my hand to the very specific words we present, is meticulously designed to either support or fail to support this single aim.
Here is our roadmap for today's session. First, an introduction to priming. Then experimental materials, followed by the lab procedure, our primary measure in Table 1, positional recall in Table 2, and finally, discussion and conclusion.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, Introduction to Priming.
In cognitive psychology, priming basically refers to those instances where exposure to one stimulus influences how you respond to another. To test this, we're going to put our volunteer through a strict 4-step cognitive gauntlet. Step 1, we present a prime word. Step 2, we immediately follow it with a string of 4 prompt words. Now, the big secret here is that one of those prompt words is actually a synonym, or a semantic associate, of the prime word. Step 3 introduces a distraction task, which is absolutely crucial so the participant doesn't just rehearse the words in her head. And finally, Step 4 is recall. We really want to see if that prior exposure to the prime word in Step 1 actually boosts her ability to recall its semantic partner in Step 4.
Moving right along to Section 2, Experimental Materials.
If you look at the lab desk in front of our volunteer, you'll see the exact materials we need. We've got 10 cards, each featuring a single semantic prime word. We also have 10 corresponding cards featuring prompt strings, each made of 4 words. We have writing materials for her to record her recall, but pay special attention to the 2 absolute most vital tools for strict variable control here, the stopwatch and the wooden screen. The stopwatch ensures our exposure times are exact to very second, and that wooden screen isolates the participant, cutting out visual distractions and letting us control exactly when those stimulus cards are revealed.
All right, Section 3, the lab procedure.
We run this whole experiment in a single series across 10 specific sets. Take a look at the first set there. The prime word is hat. The prompt string is cap, pig, kit, boy. See how cap is semantically associated with hat? Or look at bed. The prompt string is sun, bin, leg, cot. Cot is the semantic associate. This pattern continues all the way down to the 10th set, table. In every single one of these 10 strings, exactly one word is semantically connected to the prime. Our independent variable is presenting these very specific sets. Our dependent variable, whether she actually recalls that associated prompt word.
Now, timing is quite literally everything in cognitive testing. For each set, we drop the wooden screen and expose the prime word card to the volunteer for exactly 1 second. 1 second, no more, no less.
And immediately after that 1 second is up, we quickly swap the card and present the corresponding string of 4 prompt words. This card is shown to the participant for exactly 4 seconds. Boom! As soon as those 4 seconds are up, the card is hidden, and we instantly introduce an intervening variable, a 10-second digit naming distraction task. We literally have the participant read numbers aloud for 10 seconds. Why do we do this? Well, to totally prevent her from rehearsing those prompt words in her short-term memory. We are here to test deep cognitive priming, not rote memorization.
Finally, right after the distraction task, we give the volunteer exactly 10 seconds to recall and write down as many of those 4 prompt words as she can remember.
Once those 10 seconds are up, we reset and we repeat this exact same sequence. 1 second prime, 4-second prompt, 10-second distraction, 10-second recall for all 10 of the stimulus sets.
While our volunteer works her way through those remaining sets, we really need to review our precautions. As researchers, we absolutely cannot compromise the integrity of our data. We have to maintain consistent exposure timing using the stopwatch. But most importantly, we absolutely do not tell the subject which prompt word is semantically associated with the prime, and we don't tell her that the order or position of the words is important at all. If she figures out what we're looking for, her conscious brain takes over and that subconscious priming effect is completely lost.
Which brings us to Section 4, Primary Measure, Table 1.
So here is Table 1, our primary scoring sheet, and we have to apply the scoring super strictly here. We look at the volunteer's recall sheets, and we are counting one thing only: how many of the 10 semantically associated or synonym prompt words she correctly recalled. We don't guess, we don't invent scores, we record exactly what she wrote down. So if she remembered cap from the first set and cot from the third set, those count. The total correct recalls are tabulated out of a maximum score of 10. This single number is the primary basis for testing our entire priming hypothesis.
Next up, Section 5, Positional Recall, Table 2.
All right, Table 2. This actually shifts our focus away from semantic priming entirely and looks over at exact position memory. You know how each prompt string contains 4 words? That means there's a first, second, third, and fourth position. For every position across the 10 trials, we are checking if the participant recalled the exact word in its original correct position. Only an exact position match counts here. We then calculate the total out of 10 for each position, the proportion by simply dividing that total by 10, and finally the percentage by multiplying that proportion by 100.
Now this is super important, so don't miss this distinction. It's something psychology students mix up all the time. Table 1 is our primary measure. It is what tests our hypothesis. Table 2 is strictly a supplementary measure. It gives us really fascinating additional positional information about memory, sure, but it does not determine whether priming actually occurred. Don't confuse the two when you're analyzing your own laboratory results. Table 1 is the sole judge of the priming effect.
Finally, Section 6, Discussion and Conclusion.
Okay, here is the analytical threshold for the entire experiment. Once you've tabulated Table 1, you look at that total score. The established criterion is this: if the participant successfully recalled 5 or more of the semantically associated prompt words out of 10, that result supports the alternate hypothesis, that priming does have an effect on recall. If fewer than 5 are recalled, well, the result does not support the hypothesis. You would then go on to discuss Table 2 separately, noting the recall percentages for the first, second, third, and fourth positions, and maybe factor in just how effective that 10-second distraction task was at stopping rehearsal.
And that's the whole shebang. The complete scientific method for Experiment 3. From defining our clear aim, to strictly timing that 1-second prime and 4-second prompt, forcing a 10-second distraction task to isolate our variables, capturing the recall, and then strictly applying our Table 1 criterion. It is only through these incredibly precise controlled lab parameters that we can actually measure the invisible mechanics of human cognition. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If a single word, exposed for just 1 second in a sterile lab, can alter what you remember 15 seconds later, how much is your memory being primed by the uncontrolled world around you every single day?